Hey guys, welcome back to Total Tax FPL. It's Fran here, and I'm back with my Game Week 15 team selection. This week was a week where I was probably future planning once again, specifically around defense. And now that I've actually consolidated my back three, where I have James, Trent, and Cancelo, it's very clear when you look at my defense that I've added another option in Lamptey, and Lamptey has actually come into the side in place of Cody. Cody has a fantastically poor or terribly poor fixture run. And the reason why he goes out of the team is because he doesn't really offer anything other than clean sheets. And that's exactly what we've expected. He has, however, scored a goal during this tenure. So I have to say massive respect to Cody for saving me in one of those game weeks. But he has to go because Lamptey is just such an appetizing option, even though he gets rested in so many games. And I imagine he will be in December. The thing is, Lamptey for me, when I probably will play him, I actually think his returns from attacking point of view are there. He looks very, very direct and very, very attacking, and always seems to be able to create a contribution, whether it's an assist or getting a clean sheet if he actually gets the start. When we actually look in the recent weeks, he's done exceptionally well. Kind of what I mentioned, where he's actually benefited from getting clean sheets, even though Brighton have ultimately lost the clean sheets because he gets rested early, or even when he comes late, he's provided things such as the assist to Mopé's great goal in the previous game week. When I look at Lamptey, I think he's just a very simple transition. Clearly, Livramento is someone who sits on my side, and he's going to be in my bench this week because I think that Brighton have better chances of keeping a clean sheet versus Southampton than Southampton do versus Brighton. So the Southampton defense has I think markedly dropped in terms of level from a defensive point of view, and they've struggled to maintain their clean sheets as of late. And the defensive stats aren't there for a team like Southampton, whereas Brighton still rank considerably quite highly. And Lamptey is a nice little hedge into someone like Sanchez, but someone as well who is cheaper and probably provides more attacking dividends, which is why I really like him. When I look into this week, I do expect James to play. I'm not exactly sure what happens. Clearly, the press conferences are something that we have to take in light of, and we have to see and assess what happens with James. Maybe there's a case where Livramento plays for me. Maybe there's a situation where Antonio actually comes in as well. But for now, I'd like to play Trent, James, and Cancelo if possible. I imagine Cancelo is also someone who could be rotated this week, so that's going to be a point of concern. But my bench this week is actually considerably strong. I would still be quite happy having Antonio playing versus Chelsea, even though it's a very tough match. It should be what should be at least a very nice 2 points. And then also Livramento could maybe get a clean sheet if, let's say, the Brighton-Southampton game becomes a dud and a bit of a 0-0 affair, which we've actually seen quite commonly as of late. Moving into the midfield, I would actually like to show once again a little bit of faith with Rafinha. This is maybe the last week that I have Rafinha. I think you have to factor in an FPL that there are some assets that are fantastic, and clearly Rafinha is one of them. But you don't really want to be owning Rafinha during a run where he has to face some of the toughest teams in the league and some of the best defenses that the league has to offer. And during this run, I'm sure that other midfielders could probably perform just as well as him, which is why this is his last week in my team. And he's done fantastically while he's been here, so I'm really happy that I got him after the international break. So that's pretty much an end of an era, in a sense, with Rafinha. Rafinha faces a very poor Brentford side as of late. We saw, for example, Tottenham create a few chances, I would say, consistently versus Brentford, and Brentford have just not looked that good from a defensive point of view, and that's probably raises into question why I've probably put Tony into my side. But the reason why I put Tony into my side is just because Leeds haven't been a fantastic defense themselves. I know Ayling and Bamford could come back, but I think Bamford coming back could only really add to, let's say, Rafinha's ability to actually get creative points through assists and things like that. And with Ayling coming back, I don't think that changes the dynamic of the Leeds defense too much. We have seen that this Leeds defense is very susceptible to losing clean sheets and to also getting kind of overwhelmed by opponents at the dying stages of the game, which is exactly what we saw with Tottenham in the second half when they were playing versus Leeds, where the second half they were much more active tactically. They changed their style to accommodate for the man-to-man press of Leeds, and they were playing with a much more intensity that I think Leeds have struggled with to keep up the season, over the course of 90-minute games. And that's probably a symptom of the fact that we are still in a period where players have played maybe 2 years straight with a lot of fixture congestion, and they're definitely still struggling versus press. And I think overall the teams that press in the league have been generating the most amount of success in terms of actually providing good defensive returns. We'll see a team like Arsenal, for example, really have struggled versus some of the top sides because they aren't actively pressing enough and they are losing the ball in transition so much. Leeds, in my opinion, were a team that actually were able to keep the ball because they kept the ball so much in transition and through press. but they haven't been able to do that as much this season, and that's why I think Leeds will probably lose their clean sheet this week, and hopefully Tony, if he can do it, will actually score in this week. Kane is someone I have to still back this week. There's no reason to really bench him. There's actually a lot of reason, I think, for people to move from Kane to Ronaldo this week. I think FPL Mate has done that and done the move ahead, and it makes sense because really Kane hasn't shown enough lately. But what I will say is that this Norwich team have shown to be quite poor from a defensive point of view in terms of lapses, and hopefully there's a chance for something like a penalty where Kane can haul, because unfortunately, other than that, I might just be reaching, and really it's going to be the last week of Kane here. I imagine he'll be leaving my team quite soon, in place of someone named Cristiano Ronaldo, or someone else who interests me from, let's say, the Manchester midfield. That will probably be a -4, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens with Rangnick's first game in Crystal Palace, because I think that will be a great kind of game to get a sense of what is the best move ahead with this Manchester United side and what exactly he would like to do with the lineup going forwards. When I actually look into the other midfield assets in my team, I think they're still very simple. Keeps Jota is someone who I'd love to have. Cornet is someone who has a fantastic game versus Newcastle. I really hope that this can be a really high-scoring affair where Cornet provides a very great attacking differential for me, because Tony and Kane don't seem to be that interesting as options, even though they have very, very good fixtures. Cornet is someone who I'm still very interested by. Really nice to have actually his clean sheet points last week when everyone mostly had a poor game week. And, Salah is basically undisputed as my captain. And that's going to be my video for this game week. It's a very, very short video. The transfers, once again, are based around the defense, but I think this season is about really getting your defense right, because I think my midfield at this point in time is still very good for this game week. It's clearly just a case where I move away from one of the midfielders and forwards to accommodate for the United fixture swing, and whether I get too high on United will once again depend on, let's say, the Crystal Palace moves and things like that. Rafinha has also some easy side grades. Bowen might be someone that we might be getting a little bit too early in time. Fornals is also another very good option as well, around that price range. Maddison is a little bit out of reach for me. But then there's also players like Smith Rowe, who I could easily downgrade Rafinha into. And as we know, there's obviously the possibility that I move Tony into King or Dennis in future game weeks, especially post the Man City game. So we'll see what happens there. I might even maybe decide to move Tony out first as opposed to Rafinha, but I don't think that makes sense because Tony still has good games ahead and Rafinha's are kind of reaching their dying stages here. So we'll see what happens. I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead, and I will see you guys very soon.